today's video, we're going to be looking at how to win a street fight. I think when you are looking at something like this, the best place to start is by defining your terms. Like where, when and how is this even happening? What's a street fight exactly? The way I would divide it up is into 3 different scenarios. Number 1 is control and restraint. So you're either a policeman or you're doing security work, nightclub security, and your job is to control and restrain somebody who's kicking off. Either to get them on the floor, to put cuffs on them, to throw them in a van, or to just eject them from the club. The second one is actual self-protection. That would be when you fear for your life, you fear for your safety or the life and safety of other people, and then the threat is high, so your level of reasonable force becomes higher commensurate with that threat. So we're going to be looking at some control and restraint and some high level force responses on this video. The third thing that is a street fight, like if you put street fight into YouTube, an awful lot of them are consensual and they're ego matches. So it's a match fight. If you want to learn how to do that, it's got nothing to do with me. Just learn some boxing, learn some MMA. But my advice, number 1 principle would be don't be a fucking bellend. Don't get into fights, don't start fights, don't engage in fights. If you get into a match fight and somebody goes, come on mate, let's go outside, we'll sort this out, and you go outside and you fight with them and they catch you across the jaw, put you asleep, and you land and crack your head open, you'll be shitting into a nappy for the rest of your life. You'll be a burden to your family until the day you die, and it's a tragedy. Similarly, if you go outside and you crack him and he bangs his head against the bin, it's the same problem. It's exactly the same issue. You're then going to be looking at prison time, and it's another fucking tragedy and another burden on both families. So don't do it. If you can avoid it at all costs, avoid it. So what we're going to be looking at here is predominantly just the self-protection scenarios. That is all we're going to be looking at there. We'll keep it really, really simple, and we'll keep it based on principles. Nothing fancy, nothing martial artsy. This isn't really martial arts. You'll see bits and pieces of martial arts in this. You'll see little bits and pieces of combat sports in this, but don't have a combat sport mindset for this. Don't have a martial arts mindset for this. Martial arts, combat sports tend to be infused with a framing that is symmetrical. So I go, then you go, then I go, then you go, and we're reasonably equally matched. This is for entertainment. It looks good in movies. You can see Jason Bourne go up against an assassin and you can have a good fight that lasts 2.5 minutes, but they're fairly equally matched, and then the hero will win in the end. In the real world violence is always asymmetrical. So rather than it being a mirror image, somebody is going to have more than the other person. And that's what you're leveraging when it comes to real world street violence. It's asymmetric. It's an emotional experience. So remember, not martial arts, not like movies, it's asymmetrical. Real world violence most often is one person delivering and the other person receiving. It's not an equal give and take. Let me just say, I'm hoping that it will be you that's doing the delivering rather than the receiving. That's what we're hoping for. It's a highly emotional experience, so you have to train to deliver with emotion, deliver with aggression, to switch on your hormonal system and get used to adrenaline surging through your body. And you have to get used to receiving aggression, receiving adrenaline, and receiving the other person's ill emotion. If you're not ready for it, these are the things that can cause PTSD. If you're also not ready to deal with somebody else's aggression and their adrenaline, you can go into a freeze response, and then all your training in the gym will be worth fuck all. So we're going to get into some of the physical principles now. We're going to keep it super simple. We're going to keep it asymmetric. And I'll talk you through a few techniques that I would want you to get really, really good at. So you have just a few things that you can respond with rather than a ton of different techniques. Don't be a fucking nerd. Don't look for variety. You have to go to the gym. You must box. You must wrestle. MMA is huge now. Every town has an MMA gym. You must spar. You must grapple with people so you know what that feels like. So we're going to be very, very short on techniques. I'm very, very long on application. Let's get into it now. I have with me today Mr. Mohammed Kader. He's a boxing and fitness coach, and you're an amateur boxer as well, right?
An amateur boxer.
That's cool. So There's 3 reasons why I think people should go to clubs, and there's only 3 reasons. 1 is to have a drink and a laugh with your mates. 2 is to pursue girls, pursue boys, whatever you're into. It's the sexual marketplace. 3 is to dance. That's it. There's no other reason to be in a club. If you are in a club and it looks like there are some people in there who are not there for those reasons and they're trying to start with you, just leave. If it's you they've picked out, just pay your bill and just leave. Go find another club. Don't get involved in ego battles and ego matches. Yeah, you'll be annoyed with yourself for about a week, but just go home and have a wank and forget about it. No, you don't want to get into fights. If something does start to become physical, let's start with very, very simple principles first. I have to protect my space. Let's say this gentleman has taken a dislike to me and I've tried to leave, or I actually do leave and I go and stand in the taxi rank to go home. I've had my drinks, I've had a laugh with my mates, I've had a bit of a dance, I've got a girl's number, I'm ready to go home. He won't let it go. He comes over to the taxi rank where I'm waiting. All of this is psychology first. Psychology first, psychology second, psychology last. There are physical techniques, but it's primarily psychology. He now has decided he wants to have a fight with me. He wants to beat me up. He wants to prove he's the bigger stag with the bigger horns, or whatever it is, whatever issue he's dealing with. If I see him and I know he's trouble while I'm waiting, don't go into denial and pull your phone out and pretend he's not there. Don't do that. Don't try and engage somebody else in conversation or turn your back to him. If you know he's trouble and he's likely to be trouble, put your phone away, empty your hands and turn to face him. One of your first principles when it comes to whether it's boxing, wrestling, or self-protection or control and restraint is you must control the space. He probably, if he's trying to intimidate me to then lead to beating the crap out of me, he's going to want to get very, very close to me. Usually keep coming uncomfortably close until you can smell me. This is the kind of shit people do when they're trying to assert ego dominance. There's going to be a lot of verbal nonsense. There'll be a lot of like head pecking, like, yeah, what's your fucking problem, and all this weird shit that people do. It's really uncomfortable. It's an emotionally unpleasant and disturbing experience if you're not used to it and you're not prepared for it. So if somebody is getting uncomfortably close to you and getting into your space, the first thing you need to do is stop being agreeable, stop being civilized. You may want this to have a peaceful ending, so you'll smile. And you'll be like, listen, mate, I don't want any problem with you, blah, blah, blah. Stop fucking smiling. You don't get to choose now. You've already left. He's pursued you. This is serious. Don't go into denial and try and laugh it off. Take it seriously. Presume this guy's a fucking psycho. Why is he following me out of the fucking club? He must really want to do me in. So I'm going to take him seriously. So I'm going to stand and face him with my hands empty, and I'm going to put one leg back. And you're going to hear me say this over and over and over again. Before you start getting into your favorite choppy socky moves, you've got to learn to do things that are ergonomically efficient. The dominant handed, well, you have a dominant hand, it's right or left. Put that leg backwards when you're facing the opponent. It's only verbal. It's pre-contact, but I also need to engage my hands. This is just ergonomics. There's no choice. You must put your one leg back, and it should be the leg of your dominant hand, so that this is cocked and ready to go. And the design of a human being means I can only have control with my upper limbs for whatever I want to do, so I need to bring my upper limbs to bear, which will look a little bit strange, but you can find a way of talking to somebody with your hands above your waist. So you want them here, because if I choose to hit him, I'm going to have to do this if my hands are down. But if my hands are already here and my foot is back and I choose to hit him, there's no cocking that's required. So get used to talking like this. So in the gym with your mates, you want to do this, you want to try doing this kind of thing with each other, where one of you will walk up to the other and try and do this intimidation dance and do this kind of thing. And you just get used to putting your hands up. If you were thinking you wanted to comfortably right hook me, don't let me get closer than that. Okay, so that's quite a bit, yeah. I don't know if you saw the difference in range there, but we definitely got like a couple of fists more difference. Unless you're Glaswegian or a Scouser and your favourite thing to do is headbutt people. It's a bit more risky. It's more definitive. You can split, I've done it before and split my own scalp open because the skin there is very, very tight, and then you piss blood. It was a very, very bloody experience. for me and for him. Probably better to do it with your hand. So if you think, I'm not going to get into the argument of whether you're going to do it open palm or with a fist. It's completely up to you. You must be training to hook, because you have to clip across the jaw, because at this point you're just looking to knock the person out. I would say use an elbow, but you'll often find, as great as elbows are, the range is never quite right unless you've already grappled with them and set it up. And even then, it's the luck of the draw. This is quite handy. If I go to hook him and his hands come up, I can stop this quickly and then go again. This is a much blunter tool. So if his hand goes up, I've really got to come back and I've got to do a lot more work to reset myself to hit again. So use your hand. I'm going to say hook. The combatives, purists will say, no, I must use a palm strike. Won't argue with you. If you want to use a palm strike, then fine. But do it to the chin, not to the head. So you're aiming for his jaw, because you want to switch him off as quickly as possible. So as I'm walking onto Mohammed, he wants to maintain a range where he can comfortably hook me at a time of his choosing. So I'm walking on and I'm doing this. He's keeping that range for the hook. So if you walk onto me, just keep walking on. If I let this go to this range, this uncomfortable range here, which is when people are drunk and they're high, this is the kind of goofy shit they do. It looks pretty gay. This kind of thing. Exactly. So it's like mammals in the wild bullying each other to show who's got the superior DNA. We're getting into some weird primitive stuff here, but people will literally do this with their heads. Yeah. It's completely dumb. I never saw Wong Fei Hung do this. There's no kung fu movies where people are doing that, but that's how shit starts in the street. So if it gets to that range, and I say, oh shit, I think he's gearing up to hit me, let me knock him out. How am I going to knock him out? I'm going to have to move him to then hit him and let him know that something's coming. Much better to be here. If it's good for witnesses, I'm in a taxi rank, like I said, if he walks onto me, walk on, just stay there for me, mate. Then people can see that I was saying to people, pull their mobile phones out and fucking film it. I'm like saying to people in the queue, fucking out, hey, stay away from me, will you, lad? I don't want, just fucking leave me alone, you nutter. And I'll be telling people, oh, this guy's followed me from the club. You know, build coalitions if you can. We've got this weird idea now about alpha males being lone rangers who just, kill everybody at will. Alpha males in the wild, in science and biology, are coalition builders. They create harmony around them. You should have the rapport building ability to get help from people, so that this guy could be deranged, he could be off his psychotic meds, and I knock him out. That's not as good as if I recruit people in the taxi rank to come and help me and stop him from doing that without violence. Violence is bad. Violence is always bad. Win, lose, draw, it's just shit. So control the space. This principle rings true if it's not a verbal, dong comparison contest, bullying each other shit. If it's not that, but he's actually going to fucking hit me, we still use the same principles. So let's say I did something dumb. I tried to deny that it was happening, and then he throws the punch to sucker punch me as I'm talking to somebody else. Boom, and I get clipped. Not a good end result. What would I do if I felt like somebody was going to do it and I caught a glimpse of it out the corner of my eye? I'd bring my hands up and I step. So this is just the ergonomics of a human being. We don't want a boxing stance. We don't want a Muay Thai stance. We don't want wrestling. We want that in-between stance that you see in MMA, so that the legs are a reasonable distance apart and you're facing forward so you can strike or grapple. And you turn towards your opponent. It's really simple. So as that sucker punch is coming in, I bring my hands up and I turn towards him. I may still get clipped, but at least I'm not getting it flush in the jaw. One of the good things about coming here, punch again, is you can lift your shoulder so that you're covering your jaw, so you're not going to get knocked out. You might just catch it in the top of the head. Remember, we've already said this is a fuck up. I shouldn't have let him get close enough to sucker punch me, but I was in denial. So the sucker punch comes, some variation of this. Hands up, leg back, weight down, so that the follow-up punch that comes, if he punches again, I'm ready for it and I can come inside and start doing something else. So for street self-protection, It's not symmetrical. It's not tit for tat. What we're training for is aggression, is for adrenaline. We're training for when things have fucked up and they've gone wrong. And you attack, attack, attack. Try and control the space, bring your hands up, base that foot out, and then move forward. So you might say, well, that's a little bit dumb. Yeah, but street fights are easier than martial arts and harder than martial arts in a lot of ways. Easier in principle, but harder in terms of consequence. It's much less forgiving. But the technical moves you need are minor. If he's drunk and he's high and he swings, and I just do this, what martial art move is that? It's not cool looking martial arts, but it smothers an awful lot of his attacks. If you go again, so I just cover and move forward, and I say like, fucking hell mate, stop would you, what are you doing? Can you see what he's doing to me here? Appealing to the other people in the taxi rank or the kebab shop or wherever this is going on. Where you say, listen mate, like, calm down. If he punches me and I go, oh you cheeky fucking cunt, and I just smash him, okay, I would have won that fight. But how's it going to look afterwards? Am I going to come off as, not as the aggressor, but if the court you end up in thinks that you punished that person out of ego, you will go to prison. You will go to prison. If you keep it consistent that you were in fear for your safety, that's the statement you make, that's how you speak when you're dealing with them, that's like, you know, you don't want any trouble, then you've got a much, much better chance of a positive result. So I've not taught this stuff for a couple of years. I'm a bit squeamish about showing you the horrible stuff. I'm sure you can imagine what I'm going to show you is you respond, you cover, you take the inside line, and then you do horrible things to the person. That's what self-protection is. You generate as much injury and as much damage as you can, as explosively, as aggressively as you can, in the shortest period of time as you can. So I'm going to start with the more restraint stuff first. So this is the guy who attacks you in the taxi rank. He's a knob, but you're not particularly, you're scared of him, you respect the fact he could hurt you, but you think you can handle him without smashing his fucking teeth out of his head. Or it's your drunk cousin at a wedding, or it's a domestic violence situation, or you're a cop, or you're doing nightclub security work. So there's a couple of things, there's 3 things I want to show you for this video that are my go-tos for this type of a scenario. So we were chatting before, and the gentleman has decided he's sick of my shit and he's going to throw a haymaker. He just throws it. So I'm going to cover. What I'm covering here is I'm sticking my hand over the back of my neck and I'm bringing my own forearm up against my head, hoping that I don't get knocked out, basically. We just call it, well, I've always called it a Thai cover, because the first time I saw this was in Muay Thai. And I'm stepping in. My hands are going up. My dominant hand leg is going backwards and I'm stepping in, I'm moving inside. From here, the first restraint I'm going to show you is half a Muay Thai grip, a swan-necked grip like this. And you bring it in to here. Why not both? Well, for self-protection, and actually sometimes in Muay Thai, what I want to be doing is I want to keep this hand at bay. He's probably going to try and grapple with me or hit me with the other hand. So I want to practice, and you should do this in the gym with your mates, I want to practice just holding him with one hand. I would even want to be saying, you could be doing this with him to control him. You're still saying to him, stop, stop, behave yourself, pack it in, fucking stop it, mate. There's no need for this. You get sick of it, you can then start working it in to takedowns, but let's leave that a little bit. So you're here, or you're this side, and I'm placing the bone of my forearm against his clavicle. I'm getting this in nice and deep, and I'm pulling him into me. It's quite uncomfortable, and I'm keeping this free, just in case I need it for somebody else, or for him, or he starts being silly. I'm gonna keep this here. So that's your first one that I want you to train with, and I want you to learn. From here, obviously you can set up strikes, you can do other things. If he's gonna get silly and he decides that from here he's going to go for a double leg, I don't teach anything that a wrestling teacher wouldn't teach you. Sprawl. Bring your legs back, bring your head over his back, basically because a good double leg takedown takes the human body this way. Feet, head, that way. So to deal with a double leg, you go this way. It's as daft as that. So if he goes for the double leg, you bring your legs back and you push his head down. If it's the horrible control and restraint that's gone to self-protection, you can knee him in the head. If it's not that, you push him down to the floor. If you're a cop, that's where you cuff him. If you're nightclub security, you push him down the floor, tell him to calm down, and then drag him out. We're still in the realms of restraint here. Get used to this range. Throw that again. Where you're here, this kind of thing. I don't know whether you'd call this, it's not really trapping, and it's not quite grappling. It's more like the Muay Thai, a dirty sort of boxing range. Get used to playing with this range. It's very important for fights. When you want to start getting nasty, this is where your headbutts, your elbows will start to come in and your knees will come in. So I'm showing you the simplest way is just to go here, and I'm blocking a dumb punch with a grapple, which you don't see being taught much, but throw it. Even boxers do this. Even in boxing, if you're tired and you're getting sick of being punched, what will they do? They'll use one hand, they'll pull in, and they'll tuck their head into the head, and they'll try and hold from being, then they start punching each other in the back of the head. So it works. It's ergonomically efficient. You don't always have to be thinking, if you throw it, I must, block it out here. It's quite hard to do that. Action beats reaction. It's quite hard to do that. But if I move forward and cover the target, I've got a much, much better chance. The second control and restraint move I'm going to show you is, let's cover a guillotine. So if he throws that and I come inside, boom, and I'm here, or I've gone here and I want to bring his head down and control it, a guillotine, but it's control and restraint. So don't put it onto his larynx and squeeze the fuck out of his larynx. Just hold him here. Just hold him, talk to him. Say, listen, mate, fucking calm down, behave yourself. If he continues to be a knob, or he goes for the double leg, you can change the guillotine to a grovet. We'll cover that in a different video, but it's a guillotine, but you crank the neck by going from here, normal guillotine, to taking the forearm across his chin, making him face the other wall, and then leaning back. Much more dangerous, puts a lot more pressure on the neck. So we're still in the realm of control and restraint. We won't do that just yet. One of the first times I saw somebody using the Muay Thai tie-up for control and restraint was on Joe Rogan on Fear Factor. There was some lad who was kicking off, and Joe just got hold of him like this and was like, calm down, calm down. And I was like, that's actually not a bad thing to do that. That's a pretty useful thing to do. As I said to you though, the only difference I would make is just try and do it one-handed, so you can still look up and around, and it doesn't look quite as aggressive. If you need to, you can go double-handed. If you need to, you can throw him from here, if he's being a silly boy. And then it's very easy to pop from here down into a guillotine. You can move him then, pull him out of the club if you're a doorman. You push him out the party if it's a house party and it's going off. But they're both, you'll notice they're both head controls. So he's kicking off and I've chosen to control through the head. So I'm not worried too much. Throw that punch, not worried too much about what he's doing. If you throw a jab then across, I'm still not worried about what he's doing because I'm not letting that cross come. I'm stepping inside. I'm trying to split these limbs, which is a very Silat style principle. Splitting the limbs, coming inside. You can hit if you need to, or you can just take control from there. The third restraint we're going to look at is a rear naked choke. Let's just talk a little bit about getting there. It's a really good ergonomic way of putting somebody to sleep. We're still in control and restraint scenarios. So I can't just look at this gentleman and decide I'm going to walk around the back of him and choke him. He's probably not going to let me if he has any sense. He's probably going to track me as I start to move. And he'll be like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And I'll just say, I just want to go behind you. Just let me see if he likes it. I don't know, can always try. I'm going to show you some Tai Chi now. And you'll be like, no, I came for street fighting. I don't want any of that slow shite. Tai Chi is good. Applied Tai Chi is good. I can't remember whether this is called part the mare's hair, part the horse's hair, or play the lute. It's one of the two. It's a move like this in Tai Chi. It's great for if you're doing nightclub security more than if you're a cop, because we have to move people around. And for this application, you hold the wrist and the elbow And in the traditional application, you rock back to move the person forward. So if this guy was standing with his back to the bar and the door was over there and I said, please leave, and he didn't want to go, I can start to move him this way. Once we've turned him, that's the continuation of the Tai Chi application. Sorry, mate. You went over the cable as well. It's more like salsa this at this point, isn't it? So now we're going to apply it with Fa Jing. It's a little bit uncomfortable, so I'm going to do it gently first. Here. Is that comfortable? Is that okay? Okay, so when you are, I've used this on the door doing nightclub security, and I've done it when people are sat down and they won't get out of the chair. So it's the same thing, you just lean down, elbow, wrist, and pull this way. Sorry. What we're looking for is what happened there, which is I want to move the arm faster than the head can deal with. So you end up with this effect. You actually stun the person for a second. I'm trying to get behind him, and we're either moving him out of the club or I'm trying to choke him out. I won't do it again because it's not nice. So you Fa Jing, you use explosive energy, here, boom. And then you're going to move to here, the 2-on-1 position, and then you're spinning, you're turning around, and then you can get him into position to take your rear naked choke. So that is something worth drilling in the gym. If you've gotten to this point and you've taken the arm and it's enough and you can just go straight to the choke, then do. If it's not enough and you've not turned him enough yet and you need to move him, let the wrestlers be the ones who show you how to wrestle. So in wrestling, that's a 2-on-1 position. You would be here and you would pull and move at the same time and pull through to get to this position of here. The actual way that you put the choke on, you all know it. You fold your arms as you would normally, but you leave something out there. You squeeze, you put the guy to sleep. So that's your third restraint. Now we're out of the restraints. I have to show you the nasty stuff, which I haven't taught for years. As I say, I feel a bit squeamish about doing. You want to be coming down the person's center line, penetrating them, and go forward aggressively. Once you've done that, you want like 3 or 4 things, 3 to 5 things that you do well, that you do fluidly. Don't show up to class and train 10 different defenses to 10 different attacks. It's not relevant for a street fight. You don't have the fine motor skills if it goes off. You want a few horrible bits of this dirty, disgusting, close quarter, grit and sawdust tactics that you do again and again and again, that you can do with your eyes closed, that you can do if you were drunk, that you can do if you just woke up. So, ergonomically speaking, you don't need to do anything for this section. What I would suggest everybody learn how to do, pick your 5 from this. If you're at close quarters, you want to be able to strike into the jaw or to cup and strike the ear, to burst the eardrum. If the person has gotten a hold of you, just grab a hold of me, and you want them to let go of you, you can take your hand against the side of the face, you put your thumb into the eye and you push up and in. The other thing you can do from this range, get used to, is hand under the chin and push backwards or turn. These are your head controls. Pick a few, just keep it super, super limited. My grip strength is okay, so I will use C grips as well. A C grip is where I take the back of the head, I make a C with my thumb and my middle finger, I put it at the top of the trachea. As soon as you feel pain, tap, and then I can close it. You've got to be careful with this because you can snap the cartilage there. It was an experience I had, I think it's one of the last times I used this with a lad. I was working in New Zealand and I had to throw a guy out, and I grabbed him this way and I felt I think it's cartilage, snap inside of his neck. And I was like, maybe I'll use this a little less frequently. It is not a valid thing to do if you're a policeman or a doorman. It is self-protection only. Don't fuck with people's necks or their throats unless you're willing to deal with the consequences of that. We're talking self-protection, so if I get a chance and I'm in here, I would pop that on and I would drive the head backwards. It's horrible. And I've had knocked more people out with that than by punching them. Some people are susceptible to it, some people don't get knocked out by it. It's possibly to do with the vagus nerve and the sensitivity of the vagus nerve, which might be genetic. So when I'm doing this, I'm actually applying a ton of pressure to the whole throat. So it could be that, don't know why. Other thing, as I mentioned before, you must learn, this is non-optional. You must learn how to headbutt. Headbutting, as I said before, I split my head by doing a headbutt like this with the front of my head. The skin is very tight and very thin there across the skull. Use the side of your head. Don't do one big one, do multiple headbutts. And then you can trace your targeting based on the last place you hit. So if I hit there and I went, oh no, I didn't want to hit there, I can recalibrate and go lower. You're trying to knock the person out. I would usually hold or be in a grappling position, bang, 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 give them 3 or 4. That's non-optional, you all must learn that. The other non-optional thing is you must learn how to throw a hook. Optional, you should learn to throw a cross as well because it has more variation across range. You should all learn how to throw an elbow to the jaw. If you land it, even if the weight disparity is huge and the size disparity is huge, it's a devastating technique. And it's not really a technique, but non-optional. If you just grab a hold of me in a clinch, you all need, and drag me around a little bit, you all need to get used to, go on mate, go on, drag me around, there we go. You all need to get used to how uncomfortable this feels and the strength it takes through your back, through your neck. You need to, so you're helping each other with your strength training and your cardio when you do shit like that. So you need to be used to that. There's no kicks that I would say are essential. If you are gonna kick, don't kick higher than the knee. Sweep, yes. And knees. If you are gonna knee, make sure you've clinched. So it's not, it's not the ring where you're like, trying to score points. You wanna be in somewhere quite tight, and then you go, oh, his leg's open, his fucking ribs are open. You could change it, bump up into the chin, but you wanna have the stability that his body offers. Don't want to say something dumb, but people can be a bit dumb, so it's worth saying. Training to hurt other humans is dangerous. Training to hit people is dangerous. Don't fuck with your throat, don't fuck with your brain, with your neck. And yet we kind of have to move towards that danger to get the training done. So in this section, I also want to show you how to train, adding in a little bit of aggression, a bit of psychology and visualization. But the one compromise that we can make so that I'm safe and so my partner is safe, because pads are great, bags are great, but your fucking partner is gold dust in terms of training equipment, gold dust. Respect your partner, protect your partner, you need your partner, is to slow things down. So if we slow things down, we can get some of the way towards the reality of what a real fight would feel like, or the applications would feel like. Nothing feels like a real fight except a real fight. Sparring is good, when you're under pressure, you're grappling, you're doing bits and pieces, you can go a long way to preparing yourself for sure. So if you could grab me around the back of the neck and just start hooking me, but that's a good pace, yeah. And switch the hook, uppercut. So I'm really like, okay, so under these circumstances like this, we're not going particularly fast. Let's move our feet a little bit as we go. A bit more aggression. Yeah, go on. So there's no real danger here. He can, if I go, he stopped. He's got control. He can protect me as I'm training. What you want to do though is to avoid, when people do like Wing Chun or Silat and they do this, could you do it at me? Do it again. Fuck all that. Nobody's coming at you like that. And if they come at you, go on mate, it's time for you to take your meds and go home. No, that's not, if you're doing it to preserve a culture, preserve a lineage, or even to just role play, totally valid, but don't call it street fighting, don't call it street combatives or self-defense, it's not. So it should look and feel as it would in a fight. Your feet must move. Go on. Shit. Your feet have to be moving and you have to think, oh, fucking hell. If I don't do something, I could get clipped here. And he's going at 20% of speed and power, so we can slow it down. Now, when we work the responses, It's the same thing. 20% of speed and power, but 100% intent. So what would that look like? So if you just throw the haymaker, and I've come in here and I've decided I'm going to do 2 headbutts. I'm going to slow down and not make contact. But my intention is I want to smash your fucking brains out of your head with the 2 headbutts. And you growl as you do it and you pull him in. Here, you could start working for the eye gouge. You could bite the ear. It's aggression training, but I'm not hurting him because I'm slow. I say, right, I'm gonna fucking split his liver open with a knee. But it's slow. It's nice and slow. If you do a few things with maximum aggression, you're gonna be getting much, much better results than if you do a ton of fancy shit with no aggression. Honestly, you would be better in a fight if you just train to do this, like the old school karate, but with really high levels of violent intent. I want to smash through your fucking ribs. And if he covers, you go, well, I can't get in there, so I'm smash him in the face. And what have I got? I've got 1 punch, but delivered with huge heart, huge aggression. I'm more of a problem now. And it means if he goes to punch me, and this is a real fight, I'm used to receiving aggression, so's he, because we both run this drill, and I'm used to delivering with aggression. That means I'm coming inside here, I'm doing the C-grip, breaking his fucking throat, smashing him in the face, smashing him in the face. I'm not in a fight then, I'm not going, tickling him. I'm like driving through like a psychopath. I'm tearing into the target. I'm smashing his body to pieces because, well, what do you want? If you're under pressure and it's a fight, you've got to go through him. I'll finish with this. There's a very, very famous piece of footage of a security guard fighting a crackhead, and he's a good Muay Thai fighter. His stance is perfect, the punches, the kicks are perfect, but he can't put the crackhead down because he's used to training on pads. So he's used to doing perfect form off a pad. We have to be training to go through human flesh. It's a weird, intimate feeling. You can't be body shy for this. You've got to do it with loads of different partners. Promiscuity, martial arts promiscuity. You've got to do it with loads of different people under different contexts, and you'll get used to it. And then you'll be comfortable when it goes off in the street, because that's a stranger and you're about to engage in something pretty intimate with them. If you're sticking your thumb in their eye or headbutting them or driving an elbow through the jaw, you know, you've got to be used to it. So use that aggression. I think we did enough, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Awesome. Thanks very much for your time and your attention, folks. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Follow Mohammed at Warrior Life through this link below. Cheers.